Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are cracking open a really phenomenal stack of sources.
We really are.
They outline the 10 most powerful laws of psychology, but applied directly to, marketing and sales.
Right.
So our mission for you, our listener, is sharp. We want to quickly pull out those fundamental psychological nuggets.
The rules of the game.
Exactly. The things that truly boost that desire for purchase and ownership.
And when you analyze these, you start to see that it's not really about manipulation, is it?
No, not at all.
It's more like applied behavioral science.
Yeah.
We're going to explore the specific details of these 10 laws that really underpin why we choose one product over another.
And it's often driven by these subtle biases that are, they're happening below our conscious thought.
Completely.
So let's unpack this. We're not looking at quick tips. These are fundamental human behavioral patterns.
Well, that's the key.
We should probably just jump straight into the forces that drive, immediate action. Urgency.
That's our starting point. We'll begin with those primal pressures, the ones that force a decision, often before we've even had time for a full, rational thought.
Okay, law number 1. This is probably the most famous one. The scarcity effect.
Right.
We all know it generates urgency, but what's the core mechanic psychologically speaking?
The core mechanic is fear.
Fear.
But it's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
It's the feel of missing an opportunity to get something valuable. The human brain is just wired to see a limited resource as more valuable.
And that kicks in faster than, say, rationally thinking about the price.
Not faster.
So it's not just that the limited edition item is rare, it's the feeling of loss if you hesitate.
Yes, that's the engine.
Is there a difference in how, real scarcity versus manufactured scarcity works on us?
There's a huge difference, especially for long-term trust. You have natural scarcity, maybe limited raw materials or real production limits.
Okay.
But then you have artificial scarcity, things like flash sales, limited time offers, or that only 3 left in stock alert.
Which is everywhere now.
Everywhere. And both create that perception of value. But if the artificial scarcity feels faked or it's repeated too often, the effect wears off. That fear engine have to be believable.
Fascinating. So the pressure has to feel authentic. Okay, moving on to Law 2, the law of reciprocity. This one taps into a really ancient sense of obligation.
It is an ancient social contract, for sure. People feel psychologically obligated to return a favor.
Right.
But the key detail here, and this is so important for it to work, is that the initial help has to be offered without any stated goal.
No strings attached.
Exactly. It has to feel like pure, unconditioned generosity first.
So the really detailed free consultation or that valuable ebook, the expensive sample, that's all an investment in creating a subtle psychological debt.
That's it.
How do you maximize that feeling of obligation then?
You maximize it by making sure the perceived value of your gift is way higher than the actual cost to you.
Okay.
A generic tip is low value. But offering, say, a customized hours-long analysis that solves the huge headache for a client, even if you charge nothing for it up front.
That creates an enormous obligation.
Enormous. The customer then feels almost compelled to reciprocate with a purchase that matches the generosity they received.
So that shifts the cost from just marketing dollars to a leveraged psychological investment.
Precisely.
Okay, so the final law in this section on external pressure is Law 3, the law of conformity, or social proof.
The herd mentality.
Right. This is just pure herd mentality guiding the decision.
Absolutely. The sources are really clear on this. When people face uncertainty, they minimize risk by following the crowd.
So they'll make a buying decision if they see that a huge number of people have already made that exact same choice.
Yes. It's basically a way to outsource trust.
Which means the sheer number of high ratings matters. Maybe even more than what the individual reviews say.
That's it. It's the social safety blanket. If thousands of people chose product X, the cognitive load of you having to evaluate it yourself just plummets.
Which is why we see things like used by 80% of Fortune 500 companies.
Exactly. That's so effective because it's not just an endorsement, it's conformity on a massive scale.
Okay, so we've got the initial pressures down, the fear of missing out, the debt from a favor, and the safety of the crowd. Now we need to shift gears a bit.
Right, into how choices are framed.
Yes, how consumers perceive and price the options in front of them.
We stop talking about urgency and start talking about comparative value.
Let's start with Law 4, the decoy effect. It sounds like a trick.
It does, but it's really about maximizing a perceived advantage for the buyer. The core mechanic is that people tend to buy when they feel like they're getting the biggest possible win.
The best deal.
They want to optimize the outcome for themselves.
But isn't a decoy really obvious to a smart shopper? I mean, why does this still work so well in things like software subscriptions?
Because the decoy isn't meant to be bought. It's there to reset the frame of reference.
How so?
Think about the classic three-tier pricing model. You have A, the cheap one, B, the one you want them to buy, and C, the decoy.
Okay.
If A is $50 and B is $100, B looks expensive. But if you add C at $150 and it only offers a tiny bit more than B.
Suddenly $100 for B looks like a fantastic deal.
Exactly. Your brain stops comparing B to A. It starts comparing the value of B to the terrible value of C. The decoy makes your target options seem overwhelmingly logical.
It changes the mental math from, is this product worth $100, to which of these gives me the most for my money?
And that forces optimization right toward the choice you wanted them to make all along.
Speaking of setting benchmarks, that brings us to Law 6, anchoring, or focalism.
Yes, this is so crucial for pricing. The human mind just fundamentally needs a baseline for comparison. The anchoring law says that we evaluate new products based on the price or value of the very first product we saw. That first look sets the anchor for everything that follows.
And this is where the order you present things becomes everything, right? If you start a sales pitch by showing the $2,000 premium model.
You've just anchored their perception of normal value extremely high.
So when they then see the $800 entry-level model, it feels like a massive discount.
It feels like a bargain. Even if $800 is still a lot of money in absolute terms, you've managed their expectations before they even really started looking.
Does that distortion linger, though? Or do people eventually evaluate the quality rationally?
Oh, it lingers. And sometimes the whole evaluation process gets wildly distorted, which leads us perfectly to Law 8, the rate-based fallacy.
This is where buyers focus on completely the wrong information.
Totally the wrong info. What's fascinating here is how people gravitate towards data that's easy to digest, even if it's secondary.
What do you mean by secondary?
The core mechanic is buying based on things like packaging, aesthetics, minor features, maybe even how slick the website is.
Instead of the primary information.
Instead of the essential stuff like the core function, durability, or the underlying financial terms.
I can see this happening all the time in, say, financial services or really complex tech sales. The important information is just too hard to process quickly.
Precisely. If the primary data has a high barrier, technical specs, legal or jargon, the brain just defaults to the easy stuff.
The secondary data.
Right. If the core function is hard to assess, we judge the product by the quality of its presentation. A beautiful box implies a reliable product, even if that's a totally illogical leap.
That gives the design and marketing teams incredible leverage, maybe more than the engineers would expect.
It shows that in that moment of decision, clarity and perception often win out over complexity and reality.
So we've covered urgency and framing value. Now let's dive into the cognitive mechanics. Memory, perception, and that very human need for validation.
Self-validation.
Right? Starting with Law 7, attention bias.
Attention bias is the simple idea that the thing you see often dramatically affects your behavior and the course of your life. Exposure dictates behavior.
It's not just repetition, then.
No, it's about constant visibility leading to cognitive availability. What's top of mind?
The commercial implication is so direct. Constant visibility builds familiarity, and familiarity builds a foundation of trust.
It really does.
If I see your brand 10 times a day, even just passively, your solution is the first one I think of when I have a problem, regardless of your actual quality.
You're building mind share. You can't choose what you don't perceive, and we perceive what we see frequently. It works hand in hand with the anchoring we just talked about.
Okay, so let's connect that visibility to memory. Law 9, the primacy and recency effect.
A powerful law of memory. It basically states that the first impression and the last impression take the lion's share of influence in any choice.
Everything in the middle just fades.
It degrades rapidly.
So walk me through how a business should use this. If I have a 30-minute sales pitch, where do I put my most critical info?
You structure it for maximum recall. Your absolute best, most surprising fact or your most powerful benefit has to go right at the start. That's the primacy position.
Jamie.
Your key call to action, the final reassurance, or the most attractive pricing, that's all reserved for the final moments. The recency position, the middle is just for necessary details, but don't bury your key advantages there.
That's a huge practical takeaway. Now, let's say the customer has navigated all this and finally made a choice. their psychological journey isn't over, is it?
Not at all. And now they need confirmation. And that brings us to Law 5. Choice, supportive bias.
Right. The buyer's remorse.
Exactly. The moment you decide, you get cognitive dissonance. Did I make the right call? People have this deep psychological need for someone else to confirm that what they chose was, in fact, the best possible option.
Which explains why the best companies are so obsessive about what happens after the purchase.
Yes, you're not just selling a product, you're selling validation.
So those follow-up emails praising my smart choice, or social media features celebrating my purchase.
All of it. It's all designed to provide that external affirmation and minimize the dissonance. It locks in loyalty because you've just validated their competence.
And that need for validation is driven by something even deeper, which is our last one, Law 10, confirmation bias.
This is the ultimate self-reinforcer. Confirmation bias is our tendency to lean toward anything that confirms what we already believe,
Regardless of the facts.
regardless of the truth or any facts that might contradict us.
So wait, if a customer just bought something and they have that choice, supportive bias making them feel good, confirmation bias means they will actively ignore negative reviews.
They won't just ignore them. They will actively seek out information that supports their belief and dismiss anything that contradicts it as flawed or irrelevant.
It's a self-perpetuating loop.
A powerful one. If they believe they made the best choice, they will only consume information that validates that belief. It's what drives retention.
This whole collection of sources, it's just a masterclass in seeing how buying decisions are so rarely a rational equation of price versus utility.
Not at all.
They're driven by fear, obligations, social pressure, how we frame value, and this relentless need to feel good about our choices.
That's the perfect synthesis. These 10 laws, scarcity, reciprocity, anchoring, validation, they're always operating, almost always below our conscious radar.
We're constantly evaluating.
Constantly. We're looking for social proof, reacting to urgency, and judging everything against those initial anchors. A good sales strategy just leverages these pathways that already exist in us.
Okay, let's bring this all home with a final thought.
Yeah.
If we accept that primacy and recency control what we remember,
Right.
and confirmation bias controls what information we're willing to accept,
Mm-hmm.
then the real power for anyone in marketing lies in controlling the flow of information. The goal has to be making sure the first and last things a customer sees align perfectly with the choice you want them to make.
Because everything else in the middle is forgettable or filtered out. That level of strategic control over perception and memory is the ultimate goal.
So for you, our listener, here is a final provocative thought to take away from all this. Consider how much of your daily attention is already anchored by the things you see frequently,
That attention bias working quietly.
silently in the background. How might that continuous visible repetition be setting those cognitive anchors and silently setting the course right now for the next major purchase you make?
Long before you even realize you need it.
Exactly. Think about that the next time a decision feels completely spontaneous.